I think we have a good number of people, and I think we're ready to begin. It is 7:01, and I'm very happy to have so many people join us this evening.
Estoy muy contenta de ver a tantas personas uniéndose a nosotras esta noche.
So welcome everybody to the Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee.
Bienvenidos a esta noche con el Comité Asesor de Ciudadanos de Educación Especial, SECAC.
Very good. So now we would like to have the SECAC co-chairs. Welcome everybody this evening. Miss Bloom, are you here this evening?
I am here. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see you. Welcome to our new members. Welcome back to our returning members. My name's Amy Bloom. For those of you who don't already know, we have two boys. One is in 5th grade at Bethesda Elementary, and we have an 8th grader at Westland who receives special education inclusion services. I'm also really delighted to see that we have 3 interpreters available. So welcome to you all and to the people who organized that. That's really great. Thank you. All right, I'll pass it along and then I guess we can see what's next. Chen Feng, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Xingfeng Huang. For those of you who are new today and who don't know me, I'm a father of 2 daughters. My elder daughter is in Richmond, Montgomery. She's already a junior in the IB program, and my younger daughter, Emma, is actually in 6th grade of Robert Frost Middle School. So we just experienced the transition. She is in special education program. She was in Dufif Elementary Learning Center program before. So we just experienced the transition services from elementary school to middle school. So for any parents who also are going through the elementary school to middle school transition, please feel free to contact us. And as some of you are new today, SECAC is really a bridge between the special education department at MCPS and the parents of all the special education families. So if there is anything you would like to share, our chairpersons here listed is also the parents. So if you have anything you want us to help you to bridge up this special education department, feel free to contact us. So we are here to help and we are here to support you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Brooke Levy, are you with us this evening? Okay, I see heads shaking. Next slide, please. All right. Miss Sarah Ali, are you with us? I see you. All right. We are fortunate this evening to have public comment by Miss Ali, so I will turn it over to her at this time.
Thank you very much. My name is Sarah Ahmad Ali, and I'm actually a Wooten 03 graduate and myself a parent of a student at the Burning Tree Learning Center, which has had a lot of high levels of turnover in the past few years, both in the teachers that teach at the Learning Center, as well as in the administration, and their attitude towards the Learning Center has significantly changed. Due to our experience and well-documented lack of progress made by my child, we were forced to hire a lawyer and fought for and received a private placement. However, what I'm going to talk about today is some of the issues with now having been granted a private placement. We have been waiting for a placement for the past 5 months at a school that is on the MSDE list. This is due to an overwhelming lack of available schools for children who receive private placement. This challenge significantly impacts the ability of these students, like my daughter, to access education and get the support they are legally entitled to under their IEP. Given the reality that there are not enough private schools with the capacity to accommodate these students, which it seems like the percentage of students receiving private placements is only growing, and this shortage creates a bottleneck effect, leaving many children without a suitable educational setting for extended periods. The consequences of this scarcity are profound. Parents frequently find themselves in a state of limbo, awaiting openings in private institutions while their children are left without the necessary educational support. For context, the way the county agrees to give you a private placement is that they sort of allocute to the fact that they cannot support your child in any MCPS, in the given MCPS environment. So they cannot meet the child's IEP, they are not the best place to educate them, and they do not have the ability to educate them. And yet my daughter and others are still there because there's nowhere else that they can go. This disrupts the child's learning trajectory, but also places immense emotional and financial strain on families. This is just one facet of a broader issue involving the implementation of IEPs. Many of the parents I've spoken to at the school and in other schools have reported significant challenges where schools have failed to adhere to the timelines and mandates set forth in the Individuals and Disabilities Education Act. This includes delays in evaluations, meetings, and provision of services outlined in the IEP. This noncompliance not only violates federal law, but also jeopardizes the educational progress and well-being of the child. Even when schools attempt to implement IEPs, the lack of resources, trained staff, and appropriate facilities often result in substandard execution. This again hinders the child's ability to achieve the goals set in their IEP. I can only sort of recommend what I think would help, but as experts, I would imagine you have solutions that you should definitely pursue. These would include increasing the number of private schools and programs that can accommodate students, and to ensure that children who receive a private placement have somewhere to go. Implement stricter oversight to ensure compliance with IEP mandates and timelines, audits, investigations, and publishing the results of these audits to tell parents in the school system that you are actually abiding by the contract and the services outlined in the IEP. Schools must be held accountable for delays and failures. And there has to be clear connection between who is promoted, who is compensated, and how well they are implementing IEPs, as well as ensuring that both public and private schools have the necessary resources, trained staff, and facilities to hire staff and be able to accommodate the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ali. Just for everyone's reference, public comment is something that we include in each and every meeting, and it gives you an opportunity to share something for the greater good. I have placed that form in the chat, and so with that said, we can go to next slide.
Oh, what happens after my public comment?
So if you would like to speak to one of us that are here tonight, we're happy to follow up with you offline. This is an opportunity for you to share, as you have, but as it relates to something very specific and personal, that is something that we would definitely want to talk with you offline. So without hesitation, I just want to reintroduce myself because I don't think I said my name earlier. My name is Kia Middleton Murphy. I'm the director for the Department of Special Education Services. We also have this evening joining us, Ms. Wiles, if you'd like to come off mute.
Good evening. I'm Diana Wiles. I'm the Associate Superintendent for the Office of Special Education, and I'm happy to be here with you all this evening. Glad to see so many people, and please continue to promote SECAC to families so that we can grow our group each month.
Okay. Stacy, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm sorry, I lost my mute key. I'm Stacy Heinze. I'm a coordinator with the Department of Special Education Services. Welcome. And I will drop, I see there's some questions about public comment, and I will drop in the link to the SECAC page that goes over the guidelines for public comment.
Great. And Mary Beth, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Beth Mansuranis. I'm the Family Support Services Coordinator in the Department of Special Ed. Glad you're all here tonight.
Thank you. Okay, quick review of the agenda. We certainly have done the welcomes. And then after that, we will be followed by the Family Support Services by Mary Beth. And we have our community partners. So we will certainly ask that you come off mute when it is time just to share any updates or any happenings in the community. We'll hear about student service learning, CTE programs, and transition services. So a very full agenda. And we are excited to have everyone this evening. Next slide, please.
Hi, everyone. It's me again, Mary Beth Manzaranis, Family Support Services Coordinator in the Department of Special Education Services. Derek, if you can go to the next slide. It's so good to see so many of you tonight. Just a reminder, the first bullet here is about that you can find updated information on the Family Support Center page. If you go there, we post relevant information about workshops or information that maybe MSD has pushed out or some other things that might be happening in the community. And we post them to the top of the page there. We also include flyers for upcoming workshops and the monthly bulletin. If you see, Derek is scrolling down now, so you can sort of see all the things that are on the November bulletin. As a reminder, these are workshops from all over, right? They're not necessarily MCPS, but they're from different organizations that I feel are really important for you as families to be aware of. We have a lot of great community partners who offer lots of resources. So we don't endorse any of them, but we really do want you to be aware of what's out there. So I, certainly recommend that you take a peek each month. Again, it's posted on my site at the Family Support Center. We also post on X and Facebook. Those are the two ways that MCPS pushes out information. But we are looking to expand our outreach through some community avenues. So more to come on that. Also on the slide is just a couple of things that are coming up. So we're hosting a workshop on December the 11th at 1 o'clock. And the title is Resolving Resolution Disputes. And that'll be with Amy Smith from the Resolution and Compliance Unit for MCPS. So I will have that flyer posted next week, and it'll have all of the Zoom information, and we will definitely bombard you with reminders about the workshop. We are also co-hosting a workshop with the Black Coalition for Excellence in Education on Tuesday, December the 17th at 7 o'clock. More information to come on that, but it's really about like the educational experience for students who are Black African Americans who have IEPs. And so we're looking forward to really building that relationship with BCEE. And then hot off the presses, we are planning a winter resource fair for Wednesday, January the 15th from 5:30 to 7:30 at central office in the auditorium. So we do a big resource fair in the spring where we invite the families, we have moon bounces and face painters and all kinds of fun stuff. This will be fun in that it'll give you information, but not a lot of activities. So I wouldn't recommend you bringing family. But we are inviting community organizations that offer what we've heard you ask for, right? You're looking for some after-school programming, some tutoring, some summer activities, and camps for students with disabilities. So we're working on connecting with all of those organizations right now. That information will also come out. I really do recommend that you check the Family Support Center webpage frequently. But I think this will be a great way for you to find out about what's available this summer. And then again, just a reminder that if you want to be on a distribution list, so when we do have workshops, you get like sort of an immediate email, please send an email to me and I will put you on that list. And that's all for me, but I am going to share the next slide. Derek, if you can bring that up. So this is some safety resources that we received actually from Pathfinders and I think the Autism Society perhaps. We've unfortunately had some experiences with some of our students with autism or with intellectual disabilities who have wandered away or who have eloped and have led to some, sad outcomes, right? And so as a community, we want to make sure that we are providing you with as much information as possible. So each of these resources are available, like we push them out through PEP, we push them out through transitions, we push them out through resource teachers, we have them posted on the website, but we really just want you to be aware of if your child does go missing, please don't waste any time. Immediately reach out, call 911. Our goal at the end of the day is for all of our kids to be safe. So if you look at the bottom, there's lots of resources there. And all of you know that the slides are posted at the end of each meeting. So you'll be able to access them. And we will be having, for PEP parents, we will be having a workshop in March on some water safety. And we will be having the MCPS Police Department that focuses on this aspect. They will be at the Winter Resource Fair as well. So again, just great resources from our community partners. And I think the next slide is around any community partners who are here tonight who might have something to share. So I will step back now, and I know we've lost Sharon, but I'm not sure if there's somebody else here from Recreation or any of our partners who might want to.
She's teasing us. I see her.
I know, that's because she's with Rockville now.
Yeah, look, she just changed it. Rockville Recreation and Parks. Sharon, how are you?
Hi, everyone. As promised, I said I would be back this month wearing a different logo on my shirt this time. I am now with Rockville Recreation and Parks. We are so excited to be making some fun things happen in the city of Rockville. We're getting some new adaptive equipment for the pool, and we are trying to add some more swim lessons. Well, I just had a meeting about some sensory issues at the Nature Center. So trying to do lots of fun things to be able to make things more accessible within the city of Rockville. Want to share a couple of dates, and then as I promised last month, Megan Tripolo is on here from Montgomery County Rec, so I'm going to introduce you to her, and then she'll be able to update you on what's happening there. So on December 2nd, the winter guide for the Department of Recreation comes out, and registration begins on December 5th. That's really important this time of year, because winter's a great time to look at what kinds of things are going on, and it's also winter swim lessons. So with the Montgomery Aquatic Center being closed down with Montgomery County Rec, all the other surrounding areas are trying to add a few more sets of swim lessons so that people have that opportunity to do that. Also, we will be at the Resource Fair in January. Happy to say that. Probably partnered with our buddies at Montgomery County Rec. I'll be next to Megan on one side and Montgomery County Parks on the other. So if you have any questions, if one of us doesn't know, the three of us will definitely figure it out. But also Rockville has some break camps, so that those of you who are looking for things to do on out of school time or during the break, those are offered through the city of Rockville, as well as Montgomery County Rec and City Gaithersburg. And then the date I wanted you to put on your calendar is February 12th at 8:30 a.m. is when summer camp registration opens. So that's it for me for this month. I look forward to staying connected with you all. And with that, I'm going to introduce Megan Tripolo.
Hi, I have some big shoes to fill over in Montgomery County Rec, and Rockville has hit the jackpot with Sharon. So we are thrilled that she's still working in this capacity and we can continue to collaborate. I'm relatively new to Montgomery County Rec. I just hit my 6-month mark. I recognize a few names on here that I've worked primarily with summer camp inclusion. A couple of names that I notice have been on some of our programs. So it's great to see you guys in a different forum. Wanted to just give you guys a couple of dates for the remainder of 2024. First, Sharon mentioned break camp, so I'll touch on the ones that we have for youth with disabilities. On December 30th and 31st at the Bauer Rec Center, we have break camps. There's a couple spots left for elementary aged kids and quite a few spots left for the older crew, 13 to 21. So definitely check that out. Registration is open. We have a couple of social events and dances if you've got older teens going on. We have Letters to Santa up in Germantown on the 7th. We have Santa's Workshop, which is a family event at Holiday Park Senior Center on the 14th. We have, if you're down in the Silver Spring area, we have a baking event also on the 7th. So we've kind of got a couple of holiday events going on in different parts of the county, trying to reach everyone in this huge county. One really exciting thing that we are piloting in December and then are looking to continue, we are starting an indoor rock climbing program for neurodiverse youth at our rock climbing wall at North Potomac. And so the first one is December 4th and it is full. And after that, it's going to be the second Wednesday of the month. Currently, registration is open for January, February, and March. And we will be there at that networking event for summer camps, and we'll have lots of information. I'll be there with my coworker, Angela, who is able to share a ton about the specialty camp. And then I'm able to share a lot about the inclusion side of things if you're registering your kids for general camps. A little bit about me. I do have 2 boys in MCPS. I have a 3rd grader and a 5th grader at Bayard Rustin. And my 5th grader accesses deaf and hard of hearing services through special education, which has been a wonderful experience for us. So I just want to say I'm part of the fam and part of a resource, and it's great to be here.
Student Service Learning, Miss Clefman, are you with us?
I
Thank
am. Good evening, everyone. Nice to be here with you all. I'm Donna Clefman. I'm the coordinator for student leadership and student service learning. I see you have a very packed agenda. I do have quite a few slides, so Derek, just know that you can click through them pretty quickly as I review some of this information. I wanted to make sure you had all of the resources at your fingertips, but always know that you can go back and review the slide deck for all of the information that I cover here tonight. Key definitions of student service learning, I'll review those with you. I'll talk about the Maryland and MCPS requirements for SSL for our students who are earning a Maryland state diploma, ways to find SSL opportunities for all of our students, and then all of our most frequently used forms and resources and web pages. So when we talk about the SSL program, we really are talking about valuable and meaningful opportunities and experiences for our students to help and care for a community in need. To engage in hands-on learning and to really develop some key character and social skills to be able to serve as active community members and citizens. There are 3 main types of service that our students can engage in. The first is direct service, actually with quite a few of the community partners that you heard about just previously, where the students are face-to-face with the recipients of the service. They are tutoring, they are visiting children in hospitals, they're serving at soup kitchens, helping out at nursing homes. But equally as valuable is indirect service for our students to be able to support with collection drives and fundraisers for organizations that are directly serving community and needs so that we can get the organizations the resources they need to do their service work. And then advocacy opportunities are something we're seeing pop up a lot more too, where students are learning about community issues and needs that we really all need to be involved in and supporting. And so they are developing materials to educate others and spread awareness about those community issues, ways that we can all pitch in, and possibly advocating for changes that can be made at the legislative level with our elected officials. There are 3 required phases of the student service learning program, and that really is to ensure that our students are indeed learning. We don't want them to jump directly into the action. We really want them to be prepared for it, understanding what community need they're serving and the skills that they need to be able to complete that service action. Then they engage in the action, the direct, indirect, and advocacy action that they're involved in. And they round out the experience with reflection, not just at the end, but really all throughout for them to really think deeply about the impact that they're having on the community that they're serving and how they can carry that forward, not just through their school years, but also into adulthood. Lots of great benefits to the SSL program and participating in SSL opportunities, whether students are working towards the graduation requirement to earn a state diploma. It does allow them a chance to engage in some career exploration, right? To work alongside experts in any area that they are interested in. I always say anything that exists in the for-profit sector also exists in the nonprofit sector. It also allows them to apply what they're learning and all of those skills and concepts that they are learning within school to a real world problem and situation, and really be a force of change within their community. And then, of course, as we all know, for both adults and students, when we are helping others, it really does help enhance our own wellness because we see the change that we can make and the impact that we can have, and that certainly boosts our spirits. So when we talk about the actual requirement for the diploma, so I saw that question and I appreciate someone chiming in with the answer. All of our students who are diploma bound do need to earn 75 hours to graduate. They can begin the summer after completing 5th grade. So really that first day of summer after 5th grade, they can start participating in SSL opportunities. They have all of middle and high school to complete the 75-hour requirement, but we really encourage them to see that as sort of a minimum, right? That they can earn lots of SSL hours above and beyond that 75-hour requirement. And the sooner that they are able to complete those 75 hours, the sooner obviously they are finished with at least one of the graduation requirements that they meet. Always good to point out that if your student does enroll in MCPS after 6th grade, we do prorate the requirement. So the state allows us to account for the fact that they weren't in our school system. And if they were not previously enrolled in a school system that had a service learning requirement or had a program with service learning opportunities, then we can reduce the requirement for those students based on the number of years that they were not enrolled in MCPS. And then the way that we build in the hours into our academic program is 50 of the hours are built into the core academic courses. So if your students are enrolled in any of these core academic courses, they are completing a service project with their teachers. And if they are able to successfully complete that service project, they do earn the accompanying number of SSL hours. Out of our core courses, we have lots of elective courses that also have SSL hours added to them. But out of our core courses, students can earn up to 50 hours through those courses. And then the additional 25 are the ones that they are finding outside of their classes. And that can be in a number of ways. It can be with our nonprofit partners that we work with through the Volunteer Center. It can be with an organization that a student finds on their own. That's a nonprofit organization or a for-profit assisted living facility or a nursing home. Or it can be in-house opportunities that the school offers to students during lunch or before or after school. Our goal is for all of our students who are diploma bound to meet that graduation requirement, right? To earn those 75 hours as early as possible. So we know that there are competing priorities at the high school level, and we want to make sure that our students are taking care of that graduation requirement as early in their educational career as they can. But for all of our students, we do incentivize earning those hours with 2 different SSL awards. One at the middle school level for any middle school student who finishes the 75 hours while in middle school. They do get a special recognition from our superintendent. And then any of our seniors who get to their senior year in high school and they have 240 or more SSL hours, they will earn their certificate of meritorious service, and they receive an accompanying purple tassel that they can wear at graduation so that they're distinct. They can be distinguishedly recognized at their graduation. For those students who are working towards alternate learning outcomes, SSL is not a requirement to earn a certificate. It is a diploma requirement. So for those students, we do add a one-time 75-hour SSL waiver in 9th grade, essentially waiving them of the full requirement. That is not to say that they can't participate in SSL opportunities. In fact, we encourage them to still participate in SSL opportunities, even though it is not a requirement for them, because of all of the other benefits that students have and our interest in making sure that all of our students know how they can help be contributing members to their communities. So to that end, I'm just going to spend the next few minutes talking about how you can find SSL opportunities. The first way, and probably the most frequently used way, is through the Montgomery County Volunteer Center website. All of the organizations and opportunities are listed there, and they're marked and tagged with that blue graduation cap icon. Again, if you don't find an opportunity on the Volunteer Center website, but you're really interested in finding out if it qualifies for the SSL program, you can complete the pre-approval form. It's linked there on that slide. It does need to meet those requirements listed there for it to qualify for the SSL program, but you submit that to the SSL coordinator ahead of time just so we can double check. We always want to make sure that we've reviewed the organization, reviewed the activities, made sure it qualifies for the SSL program, and then we can provide that approval. What we want to try to avoid is students going and serving with an organization and then finding out afterwards that it doesn't count for the SSL program for whatever reason. So doing that pre-approval process allows us to review it ahead of time. And then the website's linked on this page. You'll see our main SSL web page. We also publish a student post newsletter that is linked on every school's homepage. That little badge is there on every middle school and high school web page. We also email that student post newsletter out to students through their MCPS inboxes, but we know that not all students check their inboxes, so it's posted on their school web pages as well. And then the Volunteer Center website is linked there for you, and you can see that there are icons that take students directly to our MCPS SSL opportunities and MCPS SSL organizations. Down below in the red box, it's the second. Okay. So this lists all of our MCPS SSL organizations, and then if you click right next to filter by, Derek, you should see select a filter. You can turn on the name filter. And just so families know, you can always search for a specific organization there and find out if they are listed on the Volunteer Center website. And then if you don't mind going back to the slide deck, Derek, thank you. And then the next slide. So a few helpful tips for our families who are looking for those SSL opportunities. Every MCPS staff member can host SSL opportunities for our students. So if there are connections that your student has with a staff member at a previous elementary or middle school, they can always go back and support and assist that staff member after school. If there are connections with the PTSAs, a lot of times our PTSAs host community events and they're looking for student volunteers to help support with those community events, either after school or on the weekends. We do post district-wide SSL opportunities. Some are in person, some are also virtual or remote for our students to log into a webinar or to complete an activity at home and then submit it to an organization. So those are all listed on our homepage. If your student is already a member of or familiar with a community organization or a faith-based organization or an assisted living facility, it's always worth asking to see if they already have SSL opportunities in the works that your student can join and participate in, or if they're interested in hosting those opportunities, then we can go through that pre-approval process with them since your student is already familiar with that organization and comfortable in that environment. If you find an opportunity on the Volunteer Center website that you're not sure, you know, there's not enough information and you're not quite sure if it's a good fit for your student, we always encourage you to reach out to the organization. Their contact information is all listed there so that you can have a conversation and learn more about the opportunity and what it entails. And then also always consider volunteering alongside your student. Our nonprofits actually love to have families come out and support because then they get both the student set of hands and also the adult set of hands to volunteer together. It doesn't mean that you're doing the volunteer opportunity for your students, right? But you'll be doing your separate service activity as an adult volunteer. And then if your student needs some support, then you're there to support as well. And then that last tip is just to reach out to your school's SSL coordinator. Every middle school and high school has a coordinator. You can click on those links to look for the contact information for those school-based coordinators. And they service all of the students. They are working hard to review all of the forms and put in all of the information. So they won't have time to sit one-on-one with you to tell you about specific opportunities, but they will likely have local information about opportunities that students regularly do at the school, whether it be within the school, like an in-house opportunity, or a local neighborhood organization that a lot of students go to and volunteer with, and they can provide you those general resources. Once you've found an opportunity, your student is going to bring this SSL form with them so that the hours can be verified. The nonprofit fills out section 2, and then your student fills out section 1 and 3, and then turns the form into their SSL coordinator. We do have a few due dates and deadlines. We encourage students to turn SSL forms in on a rolling basis, try to avoid any lost or forgotten forms. But generally speaking, we have recommended due dates. Our next one is January 3rd. It's the first Friday in January, just recommending students to turn in any SSL forms that they've been hanging on to. And then our required deadlines are April 4th for any student who wants to earn an SSL award, and then May 30th for all of the forms that have been completed for this school year. That gives our SSL coordinators enough time to review and process the forms before the end of the school year. If you are interested in knowing right now how many hours your student has on their SSL record, it's very easy to navigate to on student and parent view. There's step-by-step directions there for you to not only learn about the number of hours that your student has earned, but also the ways that they've earned SSL hours. If you toggle on the details, you'll be able to see line by line the full SSL record. And then the last 3 slides, Derek, you can click through very quickly, are all just linked resources. One, all of our major documents translated into the 8 major languages, the SSL Hub for students and families that has all of our linked resources. And then the next slide has specific links for students to be able to navigate to just the most frequently used resources by our students. And then that last slide has our contact information. Please know that while we have lots of these print resources, we'd love to be a human resource for you as well, and you're welcome to reach out to us with any questions. And I didn't see any other questions come into the chat. If there are any other questions that I can answer.
Just, I think that in terms of some of our students struggle and procrastinate turning in the form because of the reflection piece. Is it possible to include a sample somewhere, either on the website or on the form? I just wanted to add, that's also something that I know from being an assistant principal, that there are oftentimes that the case manager or even the coordinator at the school can support students with that. So that is an area that staff are willing to help students with.
Absolutely. And we also had our student interns over the summer developed a how-to video on completing the SSL form. So I just dropped the link for that into the chat as well, and I'll add it into the slide deck. It's a great question. Were there any other questions I missed?
Think we're good on the wait time. Thank you very much. Wait a minute, let me see. I think that's it. So thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to have you. All right, next slide, please. CTE. All right. Is that Miss Buckley? Is she here? Oh, I see
Hi.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kia. Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Buckley. I'm an instructional specialist with the Department of College and Career Readiness and district-wide programs. I'm joined by my colleague, Nicola Richards-Wright, who will also be presenting with me. We together, and in addition to some other team members, work with the career and technical education programs here in MCPS. I always like to tell kind of the general public, especially friends and family who don't know much about modern day CTE programs, that this is maybe what many of us think about very fondly as kind of the old school vocational programs, which were often trade programs and things of that sort. In addition to those programs, we have a lot of other career programs that cover multiple career clusters and offered tiered educational opportunities for students, whether they want to graduate high school and go directly into the career field, or they want to graduate high school and go directly into a college track, or they want to do a little bit of both. We're really proud in that CTE in Montgomery County offers a wide range of programming options for students. Next slide, please. So when we look at CTE by the numbers here in MCPS, CTE spans over 11 career clusters, which we'll talk about in a little bit. They offer within those career clusters 51 programs of study. You can find CTE programming at least one in all 25 of our comprehensive high schools. In addition to that, we have one district technical center. Many of you might know that that is Thomas Edison High School of Technology over next to Wheaton High School. We also have 2 district regional hubs, and we'll talk more about that when we get there. And then we have a lot of industry recognized credential and technical skills attainment opportunities for students to earn credentials towards a career path that they're interested in. This year, or maybe last year, we had about a little bit over 19,000 student participants. And in addition to all of this, along with our CTE programming and kind of embedded into our CTE programs, are dual enrollment and work-based learning opportunities that include internships and apprenticeships. And I'm going to ask if the facilitator who's in charge of slides, we do have a video here that we're hoping to show if sound works okay.
CTE works.
CTE works.
CTE works.
CTE stands for Career Technical Education. CTE is fresh, it's exciting, and it is not what we used to think it was in the past. CTE has over 50 career programs and 12 career clusters. And it allows students to be engaged in the classroom.
There's so many programs and so many different interests to choose from. It's amazing.
They let students explore career opportunities and what they may want to do in the future.
And I'm very lucky to take these classes because it really unleashes my creativity.
After I graduate from this program, I'm going to go to college and then I'm going to continue my business track so that way I can become a very successful businessman in the future and make lots of money.
I'm interested in the medical career, so this program helps me explore a lot of options in different career fields.
I'm in computer science and I love it a lot. I want to do it for the rest of my life.
CTE catapults students into their future, and it allows them to test it out. It allows them to kind of see if this is an interest that they have. And many of our students go on to post-secondary education or to college, career, whatever it is. And so they walk away with knowledge, but I think they walk away with almost finding a place that they fit. And I think that makes a difference with learning. And if students can get passionate about a future and a vision, then all the other subjects kind of come together and they see how they work to get them to where they want to go.
This class I'm really locked in because I'm really passionate about the subject. This makes me very excited for my future.
I've definitely enjoyed coming to school a lot more since I can do something that I like.
Ever since I've been taking cosmetology, it has been improving with my grades, and now I am an honor roll student.
The classes are rigorous and fun because they focus on my interests.
I used to be very shy, I didn't like presenting, but this class really brought me out.
I love coming to my CTE class every day because it brings out the best in me.
Students go on and do an internship. They get to go out in these workplaces and put together all of the learning that they have learned in the classroom and gain new learning.
During my internship, I got to use all the skills and talents that I used in class in an actual work environment. These are actual skills that bring value to the table.
CTE has expanded, which allows this to be more accessible and provide more opportunities for all students. Many of our students are dual enrolled. They are able to take AP courses and leave high school with college credits. And so CTE students also have industry certifications, which allow them to go right into the workforce. They go in sometimes making even more money, and they get to do things even faster because they eliminated some of those certifications just by doing them in high school.
And that will help me get a job, own a business.
I think students should definitely explore CTE options.
CTE works. It works for our employers, it works for our community, and it most definitely works for our students.
CTE works.
CTE works.
CTE works.
CTE, it works.
Thank you so much. Nicole and I were pretty swift about that video that we produced in partnership with the MCPS Communications. But I think it does a really good job of just giving an overview of the wide variety of CTE programs that we offer to students. And before I pass it off to my colleague Nicola, What I'll tell you is I met a young man last year who was in our MCPS Fire and Rescue CTE program. And in his first year as an EMT trainee, he helped to deliver a baby in an ambulance on the side of 270. And so the beauty of CTE is that it gives really hands-on relevant career experiences to students, and especially students who are looking for something different than the kind of the traditional academic setting in schools. And so, Nicola, I will pass it off to you on the next slide.
Thank you, Andrea, and good evening, everyone. My name is Nicola Richards-Wright, and I'm a coordinator in the Division of Career and Post-Secondary Partnerships and Career Advising. And as Andrea shared that we have over 51 programs of studies, and our CTE programs, they are divided into clusters. And here we have 11 clusters, and I'm just going to be showing you how it is that you get to get a little deeper information as it relates to what programs are in each cluster. So can we please click on CTE career clusters up top, please? So once you click on that link, it's going to take you to our career readiness page. And if you scroll down for me, please, what you will see is you'll see all the career clusters are listed. And so as we keep scrolling, you'll see all the different clusters. Continue just to give the overview. Thank you. All right. So if we look at each cluster, and if you can, thanks. Let's look at the health and biotech. So scroll back up just a little, please. Health and bioscience right there. So when you look there at that cluster, it does give you the different programs of studies in which a student can complete a CTE program of study. So whether it is to be a certified nursing assistant, pharmacy tech, certified clinical and medical assistant, physical rehab, those are all areas of study in which students can pursue and get their certification. Now, to learn a little bit more about each, if you could click on, let's say, pharmacy tech for me, please. And as you scroll down, it tells you a little bit about, okay, what is it that is involved, sample courses and sample program, and also career opportunities and the schools where the program is offered. So if you're thinking, okay, I want to learn more about these CTE programs, I want to see what is there, I want to know what is in each cluster, then once you go on our career readiness webpage, you are able to really take a deeper dive into each of the cluster and to see what programs are available. Can we go back to the presentation, please? Thank you. Next slide, please. As was shared earlier, we're saying that our CTE programs are offered everywhere. So we know there are 51 programs of study. There's no one school that has all programs. However, students do have access to all programs because all schools offer some CTE programs. In addition, we do have, which we talk about, our technical center, Thomas Edison High School, where there are programs where if students are interested, they can go through that process to go to Edison. If the program is not offered at their school, to pursue the program at Edison, or we can go to one of our district regional hubs, which is Gaithersburg High School or Seneca Valley High School. We also have Rockville High School as a hub because based on specific programs, they're at different schools where a program based on probably is maybe material intensive, or it is one of those programs where there are specific criteria as it relates to the staff or the qualifications that the teachers must have. And so for some of these programs, you probably find that, okay, they're not maybe in the specific student assigned high school, but can be accessed via a hub. So as we look at CTE and we're looking at, okay, what are the opportunities that are there for students? And we're saying that they're available at all our high schools, or they can be accessed, all programs can be accessed by all students. We're saying there are also many benefits that come with pursuing one of our CTE programs of study. So can we go to the next slide, please? So students who are in a CTE program of study, they have the opportunity to earn industry recognized credentials. And these credentials are really have many students being able to gain employment opportunities. They technically also have what we could call a leg up in terms of the career path, because here it is that they're really learning as much as they can about the career, getting hands-on experience while learning, and can also make a decision, hey, is this really for me? Because there's sometimes when students think about a career path and they think they know what they want, but when they go and start experiencing it, they might say, this is not the place for me. And that is totally okay, because this is the opportunity that CTE programs also allow you to do, to really explore that career. We say students can earn college credits. They can participate in work-based learning opportunities, and that is whether it's apprenticeship or internships. And we also speak about an opportunity to network with employers, because all our CTE programs, they do have the work-based, an aspect of work-based learning. And even if it's going on field trips, as it relates to seeing individuals in the career field in practice, or it's their internship or whatever it is. So they do get an opportunity to network with different employers. On an average for CTE programs, students can complete in as little as 2 years to as many as 4 years. It is just dependent on which program of study that they are in and what are the requirements to complete that program of study. So we say CTE is really open to all our students, accessible at all by all, is accessible by all our students, and provides wonderful opportunities for our students. Are there any questions for us?
Yeah, Nicola, in the chat, there was a question about support for special education students in CTE classes. And so I started to type a message, but I figured that we could just answer here. And so when we're talking about the classes happening at the school-based classes, many of those classes have paraeducators. For example, I program manage the child development and Teacher Academy of Maryland CTE programs. And there are a number of high school students with IEPs in those classes, and many of those classes are supported by a paraeducator. And in the cases where those students are then ready to take on an internship class, which often happens by their senior year, that the teacher of that CTE program of study is closely monitoring that internship along with the
transition.
And along with the transitions team and the host over there. So let's say, for example, the elementary school teacher where a high school student might be interning, there's a team of staff that supports that student and that monitors their internship hours, that monitors their work and their engagement related to the program of study. And so they receive sort of the same kind of services that they would receive in an English class, if you will. Nicola, did you want to add anything else?
No, that's you have nailed it, Andrea. That's exactly it. Yes, that's correct. Were there any other questions?
And I thought I saw a question about if all of the clusters are represented in all the schools, but then it disappeared. So I don't know where it went. Okay, so if a student's home high school doesn't offer a particular cluster, will they automatically have to apply to the program at Edison? Do you want to take that?
Okay, so if a high school does not offer a program, so let me just make a differentiation. When we speak about a cluster, the cluster is the big umbrella under which several programs may fall. Good? So if a student high school does not offer a special program, yes, if the program is offered at Edison, yes, they can apply to access that program through Edison. However, the program, it's also based on where the student homeschool is, because the program might be offered at Seneca Valley, or it might be offered at one of our other regional hubs. And there is the opportunity for the student to access the program at one of those other facilities. Were there any other questions?
Let me see. And then Do students need to begin this program in 9th grade or can they join in 10th? That's a great question, Amy. So I believe, Nicola, that most programs can be done with a combination of courses if students do start their 10th grade year. But students also have the option to start their 9th grade year, and it varies by program of study.
That's very correct. So students can start anywhere between grades 9 through 10 for some programs, maybe up to grade 11. Okay, it's just dependent on the program of study and the courses and what are the pre-requirements. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put our contact info in the chat. We'll also add it to the slide. So in case there are any additional questions that you would like to have answered, then we'll definitely be willing to provide the support. Thank you.
All right, I'm just giving a little wait time. Thank you very much. There's lots of engagement, so we might have to have you come back. Appreciate both of you. Thank you. All right, we have our very own homegrown transition supervisor, Ms. Pat Cochran, to talk about transition services. You want to come off mute?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. I am Pat
Oh, I'm
Cochran.
very sorry. I see Margie Parrott as well. She is
Yes, she is.
specialist, so thank you very much.
So we are both here. I was just going to tell all of you, both Margie Parrott from our Transition Services Unit and myself, Pat Cochran, are here this evening. We're happy to be here and explain to you a little bit about secondary transition services and what we are all about and how we impact your child's progression through high school. And thank you. Many of you joined us last evening as well when we had a presentation on self-directed services and with our TIPS transition training evening event that we hold monthly. So thank you for that as well. So transition services. Derek, if you can move on to the next slide, please. We are secondary transition services, even though that is not necessarily in our title. There are a lot of transitions that families make and students make through their educational career. There's PEP to pre-K to kindergarten, and then 5th grade to middle school and middle school to high school. Although we may be involved in that elementary to middle school to high school, our primary focus on the IEP is with looking at those post-secondary goals. What are the goals your child has and you have for your child after they complete high school? So that is a mandatory part of the IEP beginning at the age of 14. And we are a coordinated set of both assessments and activities that help your child achieve those goals. Before we kind of get into transition, I just wanted to make a comment about some of the CTE conversations that were taking place and some of the questions in the chat. We are very involved in this process. We have a coordinator for our work-based learning opportunities for students with IEPs on our team. And we spent today, working on that blueprint, the Pillar 3 apprenticeships, work-based learning opportunities for students. So I'm really excited about that. Just so that you know, when you look at like Thomas Edison High School of Technology, they do have a resource teacher for special education services at Thomas Edison. We actually have a transition specialist who works with those folks there as needed. They do a really nice job of providing support to students with IEPs, both those diploma bound and our alternative learning outcome students in those classes at Edison High School. So, there is that level of support at Thomas Edison, and then the school-based ones, typically the school special education team works very hard to support our students in their homeschool CTE options. Okay, so we begin, I'll go back to transition services now. So for those of you whose child is not yet 14, you may not know who we are or what we do. But at the age of 14, it is a required part of a student's individualized education plan. So 13 going on 14, typically in middle school, sometimes at first year of high school, we start working with your child and with you in looking at what comes next for your child. Okay, next slide, please, Derek, and I'm going to pass it over to Margie.
Thanks, Pat. So as Pat was talking about that transition to high school, transition isn't just a one-time event. It's something that's continuous. It starts at the age of 14 and it is continuous up until your child graduates from high school. And it's every year. It's a collaborative event. It's something that we get the student involved in. The student is really the key decision maker in all this. We're talking about the student's future, what they want to do, where they want to go. So we have to encourage that student to be a part of that process. The parents are part of that process. It's a very collaborative process. Next slide, please. So again, the student is right in the center of all of this. And the other people that are involved, it's the families, it's case managers, teachers, content teachers, transition support teachers, adult service providers, high school career coordinators. So it's really a team of people that are helping the student plan for their future. And as I said, the student is right in the center of all of it, and they're the ones that are telling us what they want to do. Next slide. And each high school has a transition support teacher in that high school, and that transition support teacher is there to help get your child ready for whatever's next. And in transition, we like to look ahead. We're looking at, okay, where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? Where do you want to be in 20 years? So that's when we sit down and we start talking about, let's get you ready. What are you interested in? What can you do? What do you want to do? What do you want to try? So we sit down and look at the big picture for your student, and we go from there. Pat?
Thank you. Okay, next slide, please, Derek. So we do start transition services minimally in middle school. Again, it's typically our 7th, 8th graders when we start to talk about transition services, and it becomes part of the IEP process and certainly part of the conversation that it takes place at the IEP meeting. Next slide, please. So what are some of those things? So we do assessments in areas looking at those present levels of performance. We have transition present levels of performance in the areas of employment, in the area and career awareness, and in education and training, and in independent living skills. And again, what we are looking at is what is the student indicating or saying or sharing with us that will impact their future, what happens after high school. It is also the time we know in middle school and many families start to think about, are we going to stay on the diploma track? Are we going to go an alternative learning outcomes track? We have 2 booklets noted here. We have them both English and Spanish. They are linked to the slide, so you can certainly open them and look at them. And they actually talk about the difference between earning a diploma and earning a certificate of program completion. It actually shows a picture of what the 2 look like because they are very similar in what they look like. It really just addresses the pathway your child is going to take towards graduation. But we feel like it's important at this age because this comes up at many of our middle school meetings. Next slide, please. So how do we at Transition Services, how do we support our middle schoolers? We have one transition specialist, Diane Flood. Any of you who are in middle school very likely know Diane. She's very, very popular and very well known with our middle school families. So we have one who serves all of our middle schools. So she's spread pretty thin, but she does a phenomenal job. And really what she does is support those special education teams in the middle schools so that they are developing the plans and starting the activities around career interest and helping the students to identify what their interests are and putting in those activities in place so that they can explore some of those interests. Diane can also participate. She quite often participates in those parent meetings going from 5th grade to middle school, from middle school to high school, so that parents are aware of the opportunities and options available to them. And probably the reason that she is most beloved is that she provides a tremendous amount of support for families as they are considering the application process for adult services, in particular, the Developmental Disability Administration services. And she will walk parents through that process, or she may advise, hold on, wait until they get to high school, where they will be reassessed and we can do it at that point. But she is a tremendous support for families through this process. Okay, next slide, please. So I'm going to turn it over to Margie in a moment, but just so that you know, transition services in high school are a little more involved. Every high school in Montgomery County, and that includes our special schools, have a transition support teacher, a TST. That's what we are commonly known as, TST. And some schools have more than one, and that really depends upon the number of students with IEPs, and in particular, the set of services. So if there is a large number of students on the alternative learning outcomes in a school, they may have 1.5 or 2 TSTs in that building. So we do kind of work with every student with an IEP in the building. That is their job. Their primary responsibility is developing that transition plan for them. I'm going to turn it back over to Margie, who's going to be a little more specific about what they do with students and families. Next slide, please, Derek. There you go.
As Pat was saying, the transition support teacher is there to help those families with that transition process and write that transition plan for the student. And we start looking at every year, starting at age 14, we do an interview with the student, and we have different interviews. We have different grade level interviews. We have picture interviews, and we have different Google forms that the transition teachers do with the students to get an idea of what they're interested in. What areas of employment are they interested in? What career fields would they like to pursue? Do they want to go to college? What sort of independent living skills do we need to work on? And we do that. And as a result of what the student says, then we come up with a transition plan. We come up with post-secondary goals, and then we come up with related transition activities that the transition teachers and the case managers work on that year after year to get that student ready for wherever they want to be and for whatever they want to do. So next slide. So we're looking at post-secondary education. We look at employment. We look at, do you want to go to college and work? We look at different training opportunities, apprenticeships. We talk to the students about maybe you want to wait a year before you go into college. We've talked to students about the military. So this is, again, when we're doing those assessments with students, we do the interview, but we also do interest inventories. There are some commercial inventories that we use. There's one, the ONET, So the transition teachers are doing all of these different assessments to get an idea of what the student wants to do, because that is what the transition plan is all about. So we get that information and we put the information in the present levels, and we develop those post-secondary goals based on exactly what the student wants to do. Next slide.
Okay, so one of the things that we are asked quite often is, how long can a student stay? So, a student is entitled to receive these special education services and transition services until they graduate with a high school diploma, or through their 21st year. So typically a student, graduates with that diploma at 17, 18, maybe 19. And it's our students on the ALO, Alternative Learning Outcomes, that we typically keep until their 21st birthday. A lot of our families, if your student may be an LFI student or SCB or classic autism, say, well, they'll be graduating at 18. Typically, we keep them until 21. Why do we do that? If you can go to the next slide, Derek. So as your child gets older, the transition support teacher works with you to look at those agencies that will support your child after high school. So it all ties into what's going to happen, that post-secondary goals. The three primary areas that we consider are Division of Rehabilitation Services, or DOORS. You will hear that often. The Developmental Disability Administration, or DDA, and the Behavioral Health Administration. What is really important to know in this process, and this is again something we work with you throughout the high school career, is school is an entitlement. Just talked about that. These are eligibility-based services. So once a child graduates from high school, either has that diploma or that certificate of program completion, the services that they must be applied for, and they must be determined eligible to receive them. That is what we do. That is the primary bulk of the transition services, is to assist students and families through that process. Okay, next slide, please. Important to note, you will be asked multiple times, at least annually, probably more often than that, to sign a consent form. And that consent form, that written consent, gives us permission to refer to these agencies, to support you in that application process with these agencies, to communicate with these agencies, and to invite them to their IEP meeting. We cannot do anything. We cannot communicate with anyone outside of MCPS about your child without your written consent and involvement in that process. Okay, next slide, please. And okay, so the first one, DOORS, Division of Rehab Services, is an agency that provides employment services and employment readiness. So their pre-employment transition services, or PREETs, as they are frequently called, are available to every student with an IEP. So anyone age 14 and older. Typically, it starts in high school, up through the age of 20, up until 22, are eligible for services, but it's not like they're automatically given to you. Again, you need to be referred for those. Now, the referral can come through the transition support teacher. This is discussed at IEP meetings. It can be made through the TST, or the family can do a self-referral as well. We provide a summer program, a pre-employment transition services summer program, in conjunction with DOORS for our rising 10th and 11th graders. So we're actively involved with this process on a regular basis. Next slide, please. So student employment services is kind of a step up from those PREET services. This may provide a paid internship while your child is in high school. But again, you apply for these services, you are referred for these services. From there, they go to vocational rehabilitation services, which are those services that happen after a student graduates from high school. And that's kind of our ultimate goal, is to have a student on track let's do some pre-ets, let's do some internships, let's move them onto this vocational rehabilitation so that after high school, they are getting employment services as well. This brochure on the right-hand side, the door services, that is a link. So that is linked to their FAQ. Next slide, please. Okay, Margie, I'm going to turn this back to you.
Another agency that we link families to is the Developmental Disabilities Administration, DDA. So the DDA is typically for our students receiving alternative learning outcomes. So the eligibility criteria for the Developmental Disabilities Administration is typically for students who have an intellectual or developmental disability. These are long-term services if a student is determined eligible. These are long-term services, lifelong services, and they can include employment services. They can include residential services. They can include community development services. Next slide. I think that talks a little bit more. Yes. So these are the services that DDA offers. They do personal supports. This is can be supports in the home and supports in the community. They have employment services, day services. They do self-directed services, which is more for families that really want to rather than get services from a traditional agency, they want to direct the services themselves. DDA does provide residential services. They do some behavioral support services, and they do provide low-intensity support services. The link up there, I believe, is linked to their website, and that gives you all of the information. Should.
Yeah,
there it is. It gives you all of the information about the DDA. The application is on there, and they have an application in English and in Spanish. And this is an eligibility-based program, so families apply for these services. And they traditionally send in supporting documentation, which includes an updated psychological evaluation and the most recent IEP. That is all sent into DDA, and they will do a comprehensive assessment with the family. That's usually in person. And then they make a eligibility determination within 60 days. Again, these are lifelong services. They don't start for students until the age of 21. So our students, for example, our students that are graduating this year, we refer to them as our TY, Transitioning Youth 25 students. So they will start their DDA services July 1, 2025. Next slide.
Okay, so another one of our linkages is for behavioral health services, and this is primarily for our students who have an emotional component to their IEP. And our linkage here in Montgomery County is quite often Cornerstone Montgomery. They offer supports and services for employment, and also some residential services for our students who may be in our SESDS programs, our services for students with emotional component to their IEP. So that here we go, that's them. So if you go under services here, yep, if you look there, you can, our services, and it will talk about, yeah, and so it'll talk about the TAY services. So those are all listed there, but this is something we support you with. We actually have a transition specialist who works with all of our SES classes throughout the county, and she is an expert on this, and she works very closely with families in applying for these sets of services. Okay, if we can get back out of this into the next slide for the sake of time here. So in addition, the next slide, there we go. So the transition services unit, we do have staff in our unit, not only in our schools, and primarily we support the transition support teachers in the buildings, but we also directly support our SES students. We support our classic autism right from our unit. We support our County House of Corrections. We support our ALT programs, our CREA programs. So we do a lot of direct support to students, as well as supporting the TSTs in the school. We have some paras who go out and do individualized travel training and job coaching with students as well. And we develop the other programs that we offer. We offer a lot of evening and a lot of summer programs, and that comes directly out of our unit. So next slide, please. One of the other things that we do every year, we have transition information for parents and students. We have these meetings, and this year we partnered with Potomac Community Resources. So we have a parent meeting every month. Last night we just did a panel of parents who talked about self-directed services. In December, we're going to be doing a college night on December 4th, and we'll have information from Montgomery College talking about disability support services. We will have some folks presenting on the Montgomery College Universities at Shady Grove pathways, and then we'll have someone talking about Montgomery College workforce development and continuing education, and we have a presenter that's going to be talking about the TERP Succeed program at the University of Maryland. So, and in January, we're going to have, our parent meeting is going to be on mental health services, and we'll talk about Cornerstone Montgomery, and we'll have a presenter from Montgomery County Behavioral Health. So we do these every month. We have different topics. Are these linked, Pat? Yes, yes. Okay, so they are linked to our flyer. The meetings are virtual, so you just register for the meeting and then attend when the evening of the meeting. There's a QR code right on those flyers. Yeah. And Mary Beth is phenomenal about sharing this information with parents as well. Last night we had well over 100 participants, which was really lovely. So if you keep scrolling, Derek, down to the bottom, keep going, there we go. There's a QR code where you can just, put your phone right up to it and register for it. I will say two of our very, very popular programs are February. We run them back to back, one on a Tuesday, one on a Thursday. The first one, Margie, correct me if I'm wrong, is on guardianship and supported decision-making. And the second one is on special needs trusts and Maryland ABLE accounts. So those are extremely popular events that we host. Okay. Next slide. And Pat was referring to, we have some programs that we run out of the Transition Services Unit, and one of them is our Exploring Careers program. And if you could click that on, Derek. Thank you. This is a brochure. This is a program that we have. It's specifically for students, our diploma-bound students. Some of those students are in their 5th year, and they have some room in their schedule, and it's an apprenticeship opportunity. They'll attend some classes in the morning at school, and then they will go out to a volunteer site. Some of the students work at Kaiser Permanente. We have some students that are doing some work at Shady Grove Adventist Hospital, Walgreens, CVS. So we have different partnerships, and the students are going out and they're getting that travel experience, and they're getting that work experience as well.
And then we have our offsite classes. We have our transition training for independence program, which is at Montgomery College, each one of the Montgomery College campuses. And we have our career community connections program, which we have 3 of those sites as well. There's one in Silver Spring at the Spring Mill Field Office off of Kent Mill Road. There's one in English Manor, which is in Rockville. And then there's one in Germantown at the Up County Regional Services Center. And these students, the focus for both of these programs is employment, independent living, traveling in the community, navigating the community. This is specifically for our students on alternative learning outcomes, but it's a community-based program, and it's very popular. The students, it's really fun. It's one of my favorites.
Okay, we have about a minute here, and I just want to show you one more slide here. So next slide, please, Derek. So these are all links to everything, and we're not going to open any of them up, but everything we've talked about is in here. There are 2 I wanted to point out. That very first one is our MCPS, you don't have to open it up, our webpage, which we are enhancing this year. We're really trying to keep it very current and updated. Our contact information, Margie's and my own, is on there as well. There is also a link to, we get asked quite often, who's my transition support teacher, what high school, they're all listed right there. All you have to do is click it on and they're all listed. So all of the other information you may want here is here as well. A couple other, I just wanted to point out the MHEC, the Higher Education Commission. If your child is applying to college and you're completing the FAFSA, I strongly encourage you to check out that website for any additional information or any additional opportunities that might be available. And then the TERP Succeed, which is from Think College. They actually don't have a webpage, but Think College is a tremendous resource for the IPSE programs. Those are the inclusive post-secondary education opportunities. They're certificate programs for individuals with intellectual disabilities, which is what TERP Succeed is. So it describes that program a little bit. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Any questions? Our contact information is on the next slide. It's on our webpage. We'd be happy to chat with you. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us this evening. I know that was a lot of information. I tried to capture your questions if we did not get to some of them. I know there were several questions about tutoring, and we're going to try to follow up on some of the other additional items that you dropped in the chat. I want to thank all our presenters. You guys are a wealth of information, and we truly appreciate you joining us this evening. Think College is going to join us. I heard you mention that. They're coming in February. I just confirmed that. So they'll be joining us in February to talk about what they offer. So thank you all and have a great evening.
Thank you.